event to the public for the first time. And so we're really happy to do so again. If anyone out there would like to learn more about Cotting School, Elizabeth Russell is our Director of Admissions, and she can be reached easily through our website. I do want to make a few notes. This is the beginning of a few events we're going to be holding in March. We've got a couple of events coming up for Cotting families only. Those will be a couple of parent panels. Our alumni parents will be joining us later this month. So we'll be sharing information from you about that. And I want to give a big thank you to our vendor group. Typically at this event, we would have a number of vendors throughout the building. Like Dave said, we'll have room for even more next year. But all of our vendors have tried to figure out a way to connect with us virtually this year. So already posted on our cotting.org/transition website link is some information about these organizations, these vendor organizations, and there will also be videos posted where they can communicate with you directly about the organizations. So even though we can't be together to learn about these great folks in person, they have contributed their expertise tonight. And so I will talk a little bit more about these events at the end, but I did want to thank these vendors, many of whom are here tonight, and these are organizations that have supported our transition fair since it started in 2017, and we're really glad to see them again tonight virtually and hear from them through the videos that they sent that will be available on our website. And I want to thank a few folks at Cotting, certainly the senior administration team, for supporting the work of families in transition. That is a school-wide process, and we will learn a lot about it tonight, but we know that it takes a lot of different components to do future planning for our students. I also want to thank the members of the team that I work with very closely, the vocational department. I want to thank Kathy Tyrer and Pam Barron in guidance and family support. I'd like to thank Lindsay and the marketing team, and of course, the classroom teachers and the classroom teams where all the instruction goes on that help our students get ready for the future. This past year has been a huge, giant thank you to our technology team, including this event. And lastly, I'd like to thank our guest speaker for tonight, Kerry Mahoney. Kerry Mahoney is the Director of Education and Outreach at the ARC of Massachusetts. She also oversees support brokers and is an ambassador with Charting the Life course. Throughout her career, Kerry has supported individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families. She has developed programs and services to support them through the lifespan. Kerry's special focus is on transition and future planning. And so I invite Kerry. Kerry's going to share her screen as well. And we look forward to her presentation. Please, as Kerry's presenting, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. We will have a question and answer session at the end, probably around 7 o'clock, maybe a little bit sooner. And we will take those questions at the end. So thank you. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me tonight. You know, I appreciate and really admire the work of the Cotting School. You know, working with it over the decade in my years of service and supporting people with intellectual disabilities and their families. So I'm having a little difficulties setting. Oh, here we go. There we go. All right. Can everybody see that? Okay. So tonight, we're going to be, my screen is jumping on me. Tonight, we're going to be talking about just transition and you know, what is the way to really look at transition in terms of the most person-centered approach. For anyone who knows me, I do a lot with person-centered planning and believe in that because I think, you know, everybody's unique. Everybody brings skills and special talents and unique circumstances. So to look at people as individuals and as unique are is the best way. So why am I having a hard, here we go. All right. So, okay. So you heard about me. I'm Kerry. This is my email. If you need to ask me a question, reach me about anything, I'm more than happy to take any phone calls and that sort of thing. So I'm at the ARC of Massachusetts. We're the state affiliate. We are in Waltham, so not that far away from you. We are primarily about advocacy. It's our mission is really to enhance the lives of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, including autism, and their families. We're very strong family-wise. The ARCs were probably, developed about 60 years ago now. And they were developed by families. And, these families were the ones where many medical professionals were telling them to have their children move into state institutions and, just kind of forget they're there and that sort of thing. And so I like to call these the feisty parents because they're the ones that said, no, I'm taking my kid home. They're the ones who, established nursery schools and really worked hard for, chapter 766 and getting kids in schools. And maybe they were in the basements, but they were in their community schools. So I have a lot of respect for the ARC. We do a lot with budget advocacy, both federally and statewide. Trying to advocate for more money, for more services, and that sort of thing. Legislative advocacy, passing laws. We worked hard for several years. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Nikki's Law, but it's a registry for people who have been accused of and substantiated of abusing individuals, and they're put on a list on a registry so that they can't be rehired somewhere. There's also, we do a lot with disability policy. How do we move forward? Education, try to, what are services out there for folks? What are supports in the community? And also outreach is something that we do as well. So it's a little about the ARC. So I love transition. It's always been really exciting to me because I think, it's what's great about transition. It's opportunity. There are lots of choices, and yes, it's scary. It's you're leaving a very secure world, and you're going into a lot of unknowns. But you have a great team behind you. You have people who know your kids and really admire them and know how to help them succeed. So working with that school team is just so important in transition. As you know, transition starts not at 18, not at 20. It starts at 14 and before sometimes. And so, I like to quote Jennifer Stewart. Jennifer was the transition director at MR, Mass Rehab Commission, for a number of years. And I just remember her saying one meeting, transition just isn't a meeting. It's a process, and it is. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. So it's confusing out there. Adult services is really confusing. You've got different doors you have to enter, and every door you have to knock on it, and then you have to say, okay, do I meet the criteria? Do I meet the eligibility? You got to do the paperwork, and and luckily enough, if you can get in, and then you have to go to the next door. So you have to go to the SSI door to get the financial benefit. You have to go to Department of Developmental Services to get the case management. Maybe you're going to go to Mass Rehab Commission because work is in your future. So there's all these different doors that can be kind of tricky to manage. But so you have questions like where do you start? Where do you go? Who do I trust out there? You're leaving your really trusted team of educators. You've known them for a long time. And what's the right path? How do I know the care that how I need it? And how do I navigate things? And what's the best way to navigate services? So I'm going to show a really brief video It's from Shelly Reynolds, who is one of the co-founders of Charting the Life course. Shelly, by the way, is also a sibling, and she's out in Missouri, and she and a group of families developed these frameworks and tools called Charting the Life course. And so what she's going to do is explain a little bit about why, why they did this and what it hopefully does. And so now I'm going to try to, record a share sound. I got a circle spinning, so that's always good news. I think it comes up. Sorry if my internet's a little slow here. Okay, here we go.
Life course for families now has become this,
Well, you can't
for
see
some
it?
people, it's a way to articulate and organize their
You have
thoughts
to unshare your screens.
and be able to
It says that
advocate and speak
that I
those
am
to
sharing
others.
it.
And maybe they hadn't been
I think you
able
have
to
to take off
put it
the
in words
PowerPoint
before.
first.
For other people, it becomes a structure for exploring because they don't know the unknown and they don't even know how to ask the questions. With our resource center that we've run here, I find that families don't know what to ask. And we have taught families to ask for services. And this gives a way for people to really articulate what they really want. So, yeah, I might be calling and saying, what services are available in my community. But deep down, what I'm really saying is, I want my daughter to have a friend. I don't know how to get them included into their sports team. I don't know how to do that. But families, they don't know how to articulate that. So the life course becomes a way to offer questions, open-ended questions, open-ended templates and principles for you to gather your current value base and thought process, but hopefully expand that and really help you be able to articulate what you really want and need.
Okay. Oop. All right, so I can get back to my PowerPoint. Oops. Okay, so I hope that wasn't too disruptive and you can see it already. So this is Charting the Life course. This is they've done some rebranding. Oh, sorry about that. I need to turn off my
Kerry, I can put yours on.
You can what?
I can bring it up on my.
Okay.
If you want to walk me through it, I'll put it up on my computer.
Thank you.
Just hang on a sec.
Yay, thank you. Okay. You can tell technology is not one of my strengths. Anyways, but this is Charting the Life course. And about, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago now, I was surfing the net. I'm always looking for new information and that sort of thing. And I saw a website called Supporting Families, and I said, oh, that sounds really interesting. And this is where I found out about Charting the Life course and the tools and strategies that they use. And what I love about it is that there's no jargon involved. It's really talking about everything you and I talk about. It talks about, what do we do during the day? Who do we hang out with? Who's our family? What about our health? How do we, you know, how do we connect with our communities? How do we keep our loved ones safe? And how do we help people be able to speak up for themselves and that sort of thing? So this is the life course medallion that really talks about the framework and that sort of thing. And we're going to be going through this medallion tonight. And I'm going to show you a little bit more. Now, everything you have here tonight is available for free on lifecoursetools.com. So they have templates of every single tool you'll see. They have videos. They have all sorts of really great information that helps you understand the frameworks and the tools. So tonight, what I hope to talk to you about is that you're going to have a good knowledge about the framework. You're going to be able to delve into using some of these tools. We're going to be talking about achieving, how do you go ahead and achieve life outcomes? What about the holistic focus around life domains? And then this star here that is really a wonderful way of reframing conversations about exploring, problem solving, and just being able to really look at how do we achieve what is right for our loved ones. Okay, so there's key principles in terms of the life course. And, again, these were developed by a group of families out in Kansas City, Missouri. And, they were just unhappy or just, not feeling that they were getting well supported for what their kids truly, truly needed. So they came up with these principles and these, frameworks to be able to hopefully achieve success. So first of all, the focus is on all people. So it's just not people with disabilities. This has nothing to do with people with disabilities. It's for anybody. When I went through the ambassador training, I had to do it on myself, use the tools on myself. And, of course, I'm always trying to lose weight. So I did weight loss. But, it's for brothers and sisters. It's for families. It's for everyone to really have a good life. And then also recognizing the person within the context of the family. I don't know where I was. I don't know what space abducted me, but I was not anywhere for a while, and I apologize. But so, Michael, I appreciate if you could share my slides and take it from here.
You got it. You got it. Thank you, Kerry. Welcome back. We missed you.
We did.
All right. I'm going to put this on. I'm going to put this on a full slide view. And is this a good place to start, Kerry?
Yep. Okay. So as I was saying, these are the principles around life course tools, and these were really about the foundational principles, and the biggest one being focusing on all people. It's just not about people with disabilities. It's about families. It's about everybody having good lives, brothers and sisters. And recognizing the person in the context of the family. I mean, everybody has a family, whether it was a positive or negative. But, that's how we're shaped. And that's how we've kind of grown and developed over the years. So it's really important to be cognizant of who that person is in the family. And then they use a lot the trajectory of life experience across the lifespan. And what I love about this is it tells you, it asks you, what don't you want? When's the last time somebody's asked you, all right, what don't you want? I mean, I never asked that question of people before. And now that's my first question. This is a way to kind of like dream for the future and look at vision and that sort of thing. not everybody can articulate that. I mean, it's kind of hard. What's your vision? Well, I want them to be happy. I want them to be healthy. I want them, you know. So, but sometimes starting on what you don't want is just so much easier. And then achieving life outcomes. It talks about holistic focus across life domains. So, like I was saying before, really, it's everything that you and I talk about. It's our communities and our families and our what we do every day. Supporting the three buckets of need. Important. One of the buckets is supports and services. Really important. Another bucket is connecting with others, like you're doing tonight. And the other is getting information. So those are the three buckets of need. And then using the STAR, this is the integrated support STAR. And the STAR has 5 points. Now, you don't need any of these fancy, pretty tools. I mean, they're really colorful and that sort of thing. But it's the more important is how we're having conversations with other. And then, of course, these frameworks can really look at transformational policy and systems change. So in Massachusetts, there's a lot of state agencies who are incorporating Charting the Life course into their operations, which is really exciting. So wouldn't it be neat if everybody was saying the same language? Next, please. So this is really about putting it all together. And the core belief behind Charting the Life course is that all people have the right to live, love, work, play, and pursue their life aspirations, just as other people do in their communities. And you'll see on the bottom, it's through the lifespan. It's when our kids were babies, all the way through aging and adulthood and what that looks like. Next, please. So the life stages, prenatal and infancy, you're wondering, are they meeting the milestones? Are they developing okay? Early childhood, you might be starting to enter early intervention, getting a diagnosis. School age, the years that you spend in school, transition, where we're all at right now, living as an adult and aging. And with Life Course, it still includes all of these domains throughout all the ages. So next, please. And the life domains, again, daily life and employment. What does a person do every day? Are they in school? Do they have a job? Are they volunteering? How do they communicate? What kind of routines? What kind of life skills are they learning? Community living, where and how somebody lives, housing, community access, transportation, home adaptations, modifications if you need that for your physical needs, managing and assessing healthcare, staying healthy, both medical, mental health, behavioral health, developmental, wellness and nutrition, safety and security. This is where, guardianship options, supported decision-making, legal rights, emergencies. How do you keep yourself safe? Spirituality and social is really about building friendships and relationships in your community, sometimes being involved with faith communities. And then advocacy and engagement. How does the individual with a disability or anybody bring a valued role? How can they start assuming some responsibility for being in charge of their, of their lives and what's important to them and that sort of thing? Going to their IEP and being, maybe participating if they can't verbally do it, maybe through pictures or PowerPoints or that sort of thing. So these are all about the life domains and how we can move forward. So next, please. So this is a little bit more about daily life and employment. If you want to click it again. No, on the other slide, there should be, yeah, there we go. Okay, so, how do you support yourself? Are you with your parents? Are you employed? Do you have savings? How about retirement, Social Security, SSDI. How do I spend my time? Do I work? Do I volunteer? Do I go to school? Do I join a club or activity? So these are all the things that we think about when we talk about daily life and employment. Next, please. So a lot too, this is on healthcare and keeping healthy and managing. And that, I mean, that could be fitness. It talks, you know, it's about health insurance, about medication, about getting your therapies, your OT, your PT, speech therapy, applied behavioral analysis, if you need some help with your behaviors, your medical professionals, your counseling, your special diets, you know, also fitness technology. There's so much out there these days that really will help you put yourselves in the driver's seat. Next. So this is about community living. Where are you living? You know, what are the options out there? What kind of support do you need? How will you get around? What about accessibility? So again, you know, taking these domains and really kind of going through them and asking these questions. Next, please. And so we're back to the trajectory. You know, so what is, you know, and again, you don't need these forms. You know, you draw a line, you draw a line up, draw a line down, and know who you are will kind of, you know, and how you can express themselves. You'll really figure out where to start. It's okay to start that what you don't want. What don't you want to see? You don't want your loved one to be bored, lonely, isolated, unhealthy. What do you want? You know, you want friends. Maybe, you know, they want to work a part-time job. They want to be with people, or they want to concentrate on something they're really good on at like art. And so it really is going to be, that's helpful to be able to bring to maybe your IEP, or when you leave school, maybe an individual service plan, so that, you know, people know where you're coming from. So these tools, they're broken up into a couple of different ways. Sometimes the family perspective is, you know, is different. You know, I think than a student themselves. So I always encourage families, when their kids are able to be able to complete this on themselves as well, because it might be interesting to see if there is any differences. You know, a lot of times people say, oh, well, but, you know, they're going to say they want to, like, you know, be Batman's assistant or whatever, or they want to drive an airplane, you know, fly an airplane and things like that. And it's like, well, okay, you know, probably not, they're not going to get their pilot's license. But what is it about being in an airplane that excites them? You know, massaging it a bit. I worked with a student once who wanted to be an enforcer, and he had a really fun imagination. And, you know, he was in the universe, and, you know, he was really beating those bad guys down and all that kind of good stuff. But when it came down to it, actually, he got a internship at with a parking clerk. So was he an enforcer? Yes, because he got to wear a badge. He got to wear a special hat. He would look at parking when people's parking would expire, and he had the ability to write and read. And so he had the ability to issue tickets. So was he an enforcer? Yes, he was. So that was just way, sometimes you can kind of massage it down to see what will work. So next, please. So this is going to be a little bit hard to read, but once you get a PDF copy, you'll be able to see it. This is Peyton, Peyton's trajectory, and Peyton's 13 years old. And so what didn't they want? They didn't want employment or a sheltered workshop. He didn't want a group home. He didn't want he didn't want not to have a choice where he was living. He didn't want to be unhealthy. He didn't want a predetermined schedule. He didn't want to be lonely or bored. And he didn't want people making choices for him. So on the left side, it really looked at some past experiences that led to why you didn't want something. So, maybe there was a bad experience where people were just kind of making decisions for him. He didn't have much of a voice, and he was just not feeling good about that. And then on the upside, he wants to have friends, he wants to play sports, wants to have stable and gainful employment. He wants to stay safe, and he wants a loving relationship with his family, and he wants to feel accomplished and recognized. And so, again, what are the steps along the way that can help bring Peyton along to meeting his vision? And so this is really a great tool to use when you're looking at IEP development, because some of these befores can be part of maybe in the IEP to work on as skills and even home and that sort of thing. This is Peyton. And next slide. Now this does have a YouTube video, not a YouTube video, sorry. No, it's just, if you click that on, it should come up. Wonder if it's gonna not, because it's not me.
I'm not sure if I can get this one up, Kerry.
Okay, all right, okay. So I will make sure you're all mailed this, but there is a vision tool on the Charting the Life course. And basically what it is it breaks down all the different domains that we talked about, so daily life and employment, healthy living, that sort of thing. And you put really a goal for one or all of the domains, no matter, however you want to, be able to test it out. And then you don't have to work on everything at once. I mean, taking it one thing at a time. Like we said, transition's a process. It's not a one and done deal. At 22, you're not going to have your life set forever. And I hope you don't have your life set forever at 22, because there's lots of opportunities out there. And so you can prioritize what's the most important right now. Maybe your loved one is 17. And so you're really kind of in that stage of, I got to get decision-making supports figured out, whether that's guardianship or medical proxy. I've got to get, eligibility for Department of Developmental Services, and that sort of thing. So, it's really kind of taking it in chunks, which I think makes it a little bit less overwhelming. So next slide. So this is the integrated support star. And there is a YouTube video. I don't know if we want to go there or not, but it kind of talks about how the star was developed by Shelly. If we could do it,
Give it a shot.
It would be great, because it kind of talks about this why it was developed.
So people have asked me, where did the star come from? And I want you to understand that where the star came from was we started thinking about, if you think about circles like this and you think about anybody's life, you're an individual, a person with strengths and resources. You have family and friends, which is usually the next ring. And then the outer ring is really what we talk about in terms of community. And, when we start thinking about the history of the disability service system, what has started to happen inside the service system unintentionally is that we've really created a lot of supports for that person, whether it's special education, whether it's adult services, whether it's recreation specific to people with disabilities. And if you think about it, we've thought about every life domain, and we've thought about what are all the different programs that we could put around a person. And unintentionally, when we were doing that, those supports themselves actually became that barrier to the relationships and to the friendships and to accessing things in the community. So what the star does, and what it does for me is it kind of changes that whole entire conversation. And it says, let's take that individual, let's think about their strengths. Let's think about the people in their family and their relationships and their friends that are important to them. Let's think about the community that they live in. Let's think about the technology that they access. And let's figure out a way that we can integrate and we can place those and utilize those and leverage the different parts of the STAR. How can I use paid services to fund some technology so that I can talk to my friends so they can help me get to my job? How can I utilize paid services to fill some gaps? The idea is how are we helping our services and supports not become that barrier to those relationships, but rather really integrate, connect, and leverage them?
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, no dog food afterwards. That's good. We weren't able to see Shelly, but that's okay. We heard her. And so this is how the STAR works. This is my favorite part of Life Course, to tell you the truth, because I use it a lot in problem solving. And I always, I've been in this field, and this has been my career, my love, for all of my work life. And I'm kind of a resource junkie. I know a lot about resources in Massachusetts, and I'm always looking for more and trying to, figure out what's good for people. But so people used to call me and they used to say, "Oh, what program should I send my son to? He's turning 22. I live in Malden. Where do I go? Where does he go?" And so, I used to probably overwhelm families a lot with my exuberance about telling them all about services and supports. But I've kind of changed that, because I'd be like, "Oh, do you know about this and this and this and this?" And so I said, let's have a little different conversation. First of all, tell me about your son. Who is he? What is he? What are his strengths? What does he do well? How is he well supported? What does that look like? Who's important in his life? Tell me about his family. Does he have brothers and sisters or cousins, aunts and uncles? And then does he use technology? Technology, I think we've all learned this past year how much technology can be, how many people with disabilities really can access technology to be able to use a variety, do a variety of different things. And then also talk about the community. And so you notice I haven't even touched supports and services yet. So, it's 5 points of the STAR. Again, you don't need this piece of paper, but it's really more about looking at the whole picture of who this person is and how they're connected. And then obviously, yes, supports and services are very important. And they are, so what we like to try to do is try to enhance the other points of the STAR by supports and services versus being supports and services being the only factor in that person's lives. Next, please. So this is one that we did on community living. And just to give you an example where all these, STAR pieces fit in. But, looking at a person's strengths and assets, their ability to ask or name preferences. They can point, look, write, or draw to repair communication breakdowns. They can spend time with different people, ability to visit options for living and learning, their relationships, family and friends, roommates, shared interest groups, coworkers, faith organizations. Technology can be anything from a phone to, video monitoring, social networking apps, Google navigating, being able to get from one place to another. What are they doing in the community? Are they part of senior centers, using public transportation, religious organizations, restaurants, bowling, food pantries, and the ed and enrichment classes. And then, of course, there's all these state services. There's Department of Developmental Services, Department of Mental Health, Mass Rehab Commission, Mass Commission for the Blind, Centers for Independent Living, Family Sports Centers, Advocacy, Housing, the list goes on. So how do we integrate all of these different points of the STAR? Next, please. All right. So I guess, at this point, I can take some questions I hope this was helpful in terms of kind of understanding some of these frameworks and using them and that sort of thing. Again, I love them because they're easy. They make sense. There's no jargon. You don't have to worry about making a mistake. You really don't. Say, oh, well, I don't know what part of the STAR to put something in. Doesn't matter. Put in both places. It's flexible and it's up to you and your loved ones to kind of explore and ask some different questions and just to kind of have a different view of life as an adult. But the most important thing is really starting with the strengths of the individual, what's important to them, and how are they supported. And then the rest of the points of the STAR kind of get filled in. Again, for folks that really only depended upon paid type of programs and services, they're probably a lot of times the least satisfied, because I tell you why. Programs have cutbacks, budgets. Unfortunately, you're all leaving the world of entitlement and you're going into the world of funding and eligibility. Sometimes it's not a great fit, so you want to do something different. There are far more opportunities now within Department of Developmental Services to be able to kind of create your own and that sort of thing. But again, having these discussions of what really would be, what is a good life? What does that look like? So important. So I'll take some questions now.
Great. And thank you, Kerry, and thank you again for the presentation tonight. A lot of good information. And again, we'll apologize for the technical difficulties there in the middle, kind of an extended halftime there. But we are going to be posting everything that you've seen tonight. Everybody who registered for this event, we can get the presentation right out to you. So there have been a few questions coming in on the chat, Kerry. So there's a question about the difference between, kind of a technical question, the difference between SSI and SSDI.
Okay, well, SSI, Social Security Disability Insurance is SSDI. And so it's a different, it is for a couple different groups of people. So, as employees, where we've all been contributing to Social Security over the years, and say I become disabled tomorrow, I would be able to draw on my Social Security that I've been saving over the years, and to be able to get a check because I became disabled and could not continue to work. For folks with disabilities, when their parent retires or unfortunately passes on, they are eligible to receive SSDI based on that parent's earnings. So they won't be collecting on their own salaries because they probably haven't worked, but they're going to be collecting on their parents' Social Security income. That amount is generally higher than SSI, and also there is no means test, meaning you don't have to be poor to get it. So with SSI is Social Security insurance, and you cannot have more than $2,000 in your name in terms of assets. So really important before you go ahead and apply for Social Security, making sure that there's no hidden bank accounts. There's not a really kind grandma who's just going to give you a big fat check because she loves you so much. So you just have to make sure that you go through that. And then you also have to have a documented disability that prevents you from maybe earning a gainful wage. So hope that was okay.
Great. And Kerry, we had a question that I know comes up a lot in my work with the vocational department. Kind of a question about how to manage expectations and think about a student's interest. So we have a parent here whose child is very interested in working with animals, and just thinking about all the ways that might happen, perhaps without, veterinary school.
Sure. I think, there's so many opportunities out there. And so I really encourage just not, the school program, but families. When your kids are 12, 13, you go into the zoo. You're visiting, or you're going to a farm, and you're talking about maybe some of the different jobs that the people who are working there have, and what their responsibilities are. I always tell the story that I grew up in the country in Connecticut, and my first job, I was 14, and I delivered eggs on my bicycle to my neighbors. So that was my first job. And how did I get that job? My mother. I mean, I used to go to the farm every week with my mother, and we used to pick up our eggs. And then more and more people wanted them delivered. So, we kind of got connected. And so I just put them in my bicycle basket and delivered them, around my neighborhood. So, I think things can start when you're young. And so, then there's also possibilities of job shadowing. Say you see something that you think your son or daughter would really love at a farm or whatever, but, being able to ask, can they just watch what you do for an hour or so? So there's all these opportunities. And then, working with your school team too, to see if there's internships that could happen. And, we're all about exploring at this time. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was 12, 13, 14, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so it's really fun. I did know that in college I worked at Friendly's, and I was let go because I was not good with ice cream scooping. I was giving too much ice cream to people. So, I learned that way that I don't do real well in a very structured setting. So that's that's what I learned about myself. But I think just our kids are going to learn too, so, and we're not going to love everything. I work with a mom whose daughter hated paperwork, and hated, filing, and, those are all these internships she was getting, until one day she finally said to her mom, you know what? I want retail. I love clothes. So she's now working for TJ Maxx, and she's not a frontline person. Doesn't love working with the people, with public. So she's in the back room, and she's taking out all these cool things, and, checking out the outfits. So it's all about a good fit.
Great. And we've got time for a few more questions. Carrie, there is a question specifically about the ARC of Massachusetts. Is there particular centers depending on geography? Is it open? So what's the eligibility process to receive services from the ARC?
Okay, so you can go to any affiliate you want. So in Massachusetts, we have 17, plus the ARC of Massachusetts. Most of our affiliates are the ones who provide the actual programs and services. And they basically contract with like Mass Rehab Commission or Department of Developmental Services. And that is when you are kind of limited to your catchment area, because the area office that you're assigned to. But in terms of most of the affiliates of the ARC, we all do family support. We all offer lots of programs and services for families. So you can go anywhere. Nobody cards you at the door. So.
Okay. And I know when we have these type of discussions, there's so many components, and everyone, like we talked about tonight, has a different plan and a different vision, that it can involve a lot of different solutions. So Carrie, we do have one question about something we've been hearing quite a lot about, which is the participant directed plan. I believe that's from DDS, and that's certainly something that folks that are getting close to 22 are hearing a lot about. Can you talk about how some of the funds from that program are used?
Sure. So participant directed program, it was about 5 years ago, there was a law passed called the Real Lives Law. And that, it really gives people more choice and control over the types of services, over the types of supports that they can access, and that will meet them needs. So, I'm kind of chuckling about working with animals, because up on our YouTube site, we have an example of Jacob, who wanted to be a zookeeper. And so Jacob uses self-directed funding. So he hires a job coach who helps them, learning some of the farm and the rules and the jobs and that sort of thing. A lot of people don't self-direct the entire time, because unless you have a really pretty, you have a solid network, that can be pretty time consuming. So because you're not going to an agency, you're not getting staff from an agency, it's basically your circles of network. Can it be done? Of course it can. And people have done some amazing stuff with their total self-direction. But I'm seeing a lot more families doing a little bit of both. So maybe going to a program a couple days a week. And then maybe on those other days, doing some self-direction. So, maybe going to the Y and going swimming. Maybe coming back to your house with a mentor, and going to the store and buying stuff and making lunch together. Maybe even, sitting down and playing some video games together. So it really all depends on what you're looking for. So I'm seeing that more and more in terms of how families are using self-direction. So you've got a lot of choices, and there's experts at DDS that will help you piece things together.
Great. And as we talk about here at Cotting, serving a wide geography, we know that those local GDS offices are invaluable, and everyone connecting with those offices that are in their area is going to be really important to help build a plan. So I think we have time for one more question, and then if there's further questions that come in the chat, we'll make sure that we continue this conversation over email, and we can get that out to folks. So just one more question, Kerry, about the ARC specifically. Can anyone with a documented disability access ARC services, or is there a particular population that organization serves?
No, like we don't card you at the door. I mean, the ARC, we really welcome anybody who has a disability. I mean, our expertise is really around intellectual and developmental disabilities. That includes autism. But, we're seeing more and more people with TBI, traumatic brain injuries, coming and needing information because they've got disabilities that are really preventing them being able to live in the community and have good lives and that sort of thing. So I wouldn't hesitate. Will your sons or daughters have a good peer match? I think you can, basically ask the affiliate about that, or ask, set up a time and say, can you tell me a little bit about your programs and who you serve? I want to see if this is a good match for my son or daughter.
Thank you. Okay. And I want to be mindful of the time. I know we spend a lot of time Zooming these days, and I appreciate everyone's attention. So for the questions that came in on the chat, they're really perfect for some of our vendor partners that we see at these transition fairs. So for those individuals who dropped questions in the chat regarding financial planning and guardianship, we have our very own guardianship superpower person, Pam Barron, who loves to talk about it, right, Pam? So and so those questions
special interest.
That's right. And so if we will save this chat and get those questions going. Certainly we have a couple of vendors from the world of financial planning, Affinia Financial Group and Hardy Financial, both submitted videos for our vendor fair tonight. So those will be available. I just want to take a few minutes at the end to, first of all, thank Kerry once again for all of her time and expertise tonight.
So thank you.
Thank you, Kerry.
Here, here.
And I want to go back to my original screen because I want to talk about how tonight is really more of a kickoff event for us going forward. and that we're going to be having some events coming up for Cotting families in the near future. So just give me a moment.
I'm sorry, can I say one more thing?
Of course, here, yes.
Okay. Next Wednesday at noontime, we are hosting a webinar at the ARC called Turning 22 During COVID. And it's going to feature transition coordinators throughout Massachusetts and really kind of how COVID has really impacted transition and what can families and individuals expect. So just jump on our website and register, and hope to see you there.
And Kerry, if you could we put that website in the link, or how to get more information on that? We put that in the chat.
Yeah, I can chat it in.
That would be great. So again, I want to thank everybody for spending their evening with us. And if I can just mention one more thing about Kerry, when we first started a year ago, spending a lot more time at home than we wanted to, Kerry's webinars on Tuesday morning from the ARC were one of the first things that I started tuning into, and they really helped to kind of send that message that even though we were in a difficult spot, you know, as a state and a country and a world, that things were still continuing to move and people were still thinking about the things that needed to be addressed. And so here we are a year later, but we know that time has gone by with people spent thinking about these problems. So with that note, thank you again, Kerry, for all your service to our community and every community, you know, thinking about these transition issues. So a couple things for Cotting parents. We're very fortunate. A couple of Wednesdays from now, on the 24th, we're going to have 3 alumni families joining us to talk about the housing experiences that they've had with their young adult. 3 very different experiences regarding some housing situations. So if people have questions about housing, we invite you to come to that event, and you can always email myself, Pam, Sejal Costa, questions in advance. That really helps us to get ready. On March 31st, next week, the next week after that, we'll have 3 more parents joining us to talk about their young adults experiences transitioning into adult day programs. So again, we have some that have done this transition very recently, and others a few years back, and those families are really happy to share. And we find that parent-to-parent connection to be very, very strong and insightful. And so we know our current parents always want to hear from our alumni parents and let us know how they're doing. So Pam will be there facilitating those conversations. So that's coming up. And also, I just want to make you know, one more mention of our wonderful folks who are typically here in our cafeteria hallways, sharing information with us live at these events. More information about these organizations are posted on our website, and all of these folks would love to hear about the kinds of specific questions that have come up tonight and that we're thinking about this spring. The message that we try to send at these types of fairs is that there's a lot of different components to transition. As a family, try to think about where you are this year at whatever age your child may be, and what is the top priority for you. Try not to tackle all those things at once. Think about what's most important to you right now, and we can help you try to you know, gather some resources to try to tackle those problems. So I just wanted to highlight some of that, and I really want to thank everybody for spending the evening with us. I really appreciate the Cotting students and parents that have come tonight, and the Cotting staff, and I really want to thank folks from the public as well joining us. And we have a record of everybody's email address. We're happy to follow up with Kerry's presentation. And so everybody has those handy. I do want to just thank everybody again for working with us through some of the technology. We know that the videos don't always come through and that the timing gets messed up. So as teachers and students, that's been our experience. And so it is getting to the end of the night. I want to sign off soon, but Pam, is there anything that you want to say to kind of set up our next events here?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're really looking forward to hearing from our parents who have recently and not so recently transitioned in the areas of housing and day programs. We'll really appreciate hearing your questions in advance if you do have questions in advance. And we promise that there'll be a lot of information and opportunity for asking questions. As Mike said, having information from parents who have had the Cotting experience, who have made the transition, is like gold, and we want to be able to provide that for you. So we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. And even if your child is not close to transition, you can listen perhaps with more relaxation and begin to take this information in. Everybody's welcome.
Thank you, Pam. So on that note, I think we will sign off for tonight. We have a record of the chat. We have all the questions. I apologize for any questions that we were not able to address or answer this evening, but we will follow up with you individually over email. I want to thank everybody from Cotting for joining us tonight on the staff end and helping us get through this night. Thanks, Allie, for managing the chat room, and Sejal for technical support. So
it takes a village.
That's right. Enjoy the wonderful day tomorrow. I heard it might be another record breaker, and we will try to kind of slowly get back outside and get moving again. So good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you
Good night,
all.
everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Welcome.
Leahy's. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Excellent job.
ladies. Thank
Great
you.
seeing everybody.
Thank you, Chris. All right.
You look great in your tie, by the way.
This is, I mean, I'm grateful for the opportunity to dress up. So
I have saved so much money on dry cleaning this past year. It's been great. We miss you too, by the way. Great seeing you.
Thank you very much.
Miss
Yeah.
Cousin. Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thanks so
everybody.
much for my first time.
Yeah,
All
thanks.
right.
Great to see you, Erin. Welcome.
Yeah.
Glad you could make it.
Thanks
You're
for
the
having
quarterback.
me.
Catherine
you.
Boyle, if you're still there, thank you for coming.
I see her
God
name.
bless.
Bye, Chris. Thank you.
Bye, Chris.
Bye now.
Thanks. Great to see you.
You too. Take care.
All right. Well, Kathy and Sejal and Pam, thank you so much. We can probably,
You guys were awesome. Mike, you were the definition of grace under pressure.
Yeah, you were great. Mike.
Kathy, you were terrific. I was sitting here thinking, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. And Kathy, you were just so articulate and
wonderful,
beautifully
Kathy. Thank
said.
you.
Yep. And Sejal, you
Typically during these events at school, we would be having presentations and opportunities to hear kind of formally about organizations, but then we would also have vendor tables available for people to come and visit. And we have a lot of those folks here tonight. So I want to welcome the folks on our vendor list who are able to come. We've talked a lot about how transition has many components, and we've tried to reflect that through our vendor participation over the year. So the folks that have participated this year have sent us video summaries of the work that they do, and those are going to be posted on the Cotting website. They've also sent brochures and handouts that if we were in person, we would be going home with lots of information. So the organizations that you see up here on the screen represent everything from advocacy to financial planning. They represent adult day programs. They represent housing advocacy. So really a cross section of resources available. And for all of the places you see up here on the screen, those are examples of places that are in existence all over Massachusetts. And we know that the Cotting geography is pretty widespread. So each of these places might have a specific location, but might serve a broader area, or there might be a similar organization close to where people live. So I want to take a minute to welcome these folks tonight.
If it's okay with you, to say something about that, the many aspects of Cotting that already touch transition. I think we were talking about those the other day, and there are so many parts, you know, with the vocational program learning, kids learn about so many different kinds of jobs, and right through from the beginning all the way through the end. I think that that is a wonderful thing. And I love what you said about that, Sejal, and how we integrate many parts of this. I was able to hear Kerry speak a different day, and some of the same things that she's going to talk about tonight. And I was touched by the fact that we so many of the things in her presentation we're already doing. And I love that she says that transition is a process, not a meeting. You know, it's a journey, not a destination. That's something that Lola said the other day. And I love that as well. And that goes on even after you leave school. When you get into the future, you continue to grow and change and evolve. So you're not going to get one place and that'll be it for the rest of your life. You know, it keeps going.